Hello everyone, my name is Nick, and I know last month I said I was not going to do it, but today we're going to go over all of the plants that I have acquired over this last month, the month of January 2020, in a houseplant haul. I said I was going to skip it. I was trying to take a little break from buying plants, but I unexpectedly acquired a few plants that I just didn't want to wait another month to share with you guys. Nothing crazy, but some things that I'm just really excited to bring into my home. So like I said, I just couldn't wait another month. As always, I'm going to present these plants by category, and the first category we're going to go over today is the aroids that I acquired this month, or any plant that falls into the Araceae family of plants. So the first one I have here is this Philodendron BRANDTIANUM, or which I hear commonly referred to as Philodendron brandy or brandy philodendron interchangeably. And this is a very beautiful pixelated foliage plant. It reminds me very similarly of your standard Syndapsis pictus, which they commonly call your silver satin pothos or philodendron, either or. And this is a really beautiful plant. I actually have a few of these in my home already. However, my grower, one of the growers or people that I buy from at the store where I work, they were making room in their greenhouses for their annuals upcoming, for the upcoming spring season. And they had a bunch of these that they were clearing out. So for just 2 weeks, I was able to get my hands on these. If you follow me on Instagram, you might see that every Saturday when I get back to Urban Jungle, the plant shop where I work, I always kind of go a little ham on my stories showing all of the plants that I have in stock for the weekend. And when I posted these, there was quite literally a stampede for the plants. I never usually have a stampede for any plant, regardless of what it is. But it's kind of funny because I was able to get these pretty readily over the spring and summer, but for some reason, just randomly, there was a huge boom for these plants. But of course, I had to bring one home with me because I don't normally see them in 4-inch pots. I usually am able to get them in like hanging baskets of sorts, like maybe like a 5 or 6-inch hanging basket. However, I'm never usually able to get them this small, and they were a really good price. The tag here says $12.99, so that is a very good price for this plant, specifically for a nice full 4-inch pot. That aside, with my experience with this plant, it's a pretty easygoing philodendron. However, I do find that if I let it just kind of vine all over the place, I find that as it vines, the leaves tend to get a lot smaller and it might skip a leaf on a node. It just doesn't look as good. So the reason I actually picked this one up, even though I already have 2 of them, is because I'm thinking about trying this one on a moss pole, because I think that if I grow this plant up on a stake and allow it to climb up, I think it might allow these leaves to stay just as big as they are now. So if you've had a different experience with this plant regarding the leaf, the size of the leaf growth and all of that, or if you have grown this on a moss pole, please let me know. I'm very curious. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do with this plant. I think that would be a very fun experiment, since my other 2, they grow very easily, but as I was saying, the leaves just get really small, and it's just not as attractive as these big, beautiful pixelated leaves. So another plant that I have that I acquired this month is quite a doozy, actually. This is a Philodendron SQUAMIFERUM. And so this is a really lovely leaf-shaped philodendron. If you watched my top 10 plants of 2020 that I did recently, you might have saw that my number 1 plant, spoiler alert, is pretty much any philodendron that has this leaf shape. So this was a philodendron that I was admittedly lusting after for a little bit, because not only does it have this beautiful leaf shape that I am just absolutely head over heels about, but it has these fun, fuzzy red petioles. Now, Philodendron SQUAMIFERUM is the mother of many hybrid philodendrons that are on the market. So a lot of these like hybrid philodendrons, such as Florida Beauty, a lot of the things with Florida in the name in particular are ones that I know have, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them in particular have this Philodendron SQUAMIFERUM as the parent. So I just thought that that was rather interesting. It just recently put up a new leaf for me right here. I got this actually last month, December. This was actually a gift from a very good friend of mine who knew that I was looking for this plant, and she did some digging and was able to find this really beautiful specimen right here. So I have to give many thanks to my friend for acquiring this for me. It's just absolutely beautiful. But you'll see here that I have it on this moss pole right here. So this is just how I would like to grow the Philodendron brandy that I just shared with you guys at the beginning of this video. But this is just such a fun plant. It's so interesting with its red stems and its red fuzzy petioles. I think these red fuzzy petioles are just to die for. I think it's just such an interesting thing. I think you'd either love it or you either hate it. So one or the other, you decide. But this is just such an interesting plant. I'm thrilled to watch this one grow in my home. It's already put off this one leaf, as I had mentioned, and I can see another new leaf coming in right here. So Wish me luck, fingers crossed with this guy, hoping I have some good luck with it, but I just really adore this leaf shape and the red petioles, as I mentioned. It's just such a fun plant. There's a lot to love about this plant. Moving on, I have one more philodendron to share with you guys, and it's this Philodendron hastatum, and this is the narrow leaf form of Philodendron hastatum. This is from my friends at Steve's Leaves, and I've done some unboxing videos with them in the past. If you are curious about ordering houseplants online, I definitely recommend checking them out, as I think Steve's Leaves is a very reputable source to order your plants from online. But as I mentioned, this is the narrow leaf form of Philodendron hastatum, so your standard hastatum has these more triangular shaped leaves with these lobes on the back ends of the leaves. According to Steve's Leaves, this variety does not get those lobes and stays overall smaller in stature, although these leaves are pretty big, if I do say so myself. So they really hooked it up there. It's a very generous sized plant from them. I grow the other forms of hastatum in my home, the ones with the triangular shaped leaves. So I thought this would be a fun deviation, if you will, from that standard form, and when I saw that Steve's Leaves had this available, I figured why not give it a go. I've been kind of thinking about it for a while, but I just recently bit the bullet on this one. And another aroid that I actually also got from Steve's Leaves, I just got my box in yesterday, so my plants are still acclimating. As you can see, the leaves are still kind of unfolding, if you will. But this one right here is a Syngonium macrophyllum. I actually grow a very similar Syngonium in my home. It's right behind me, actually. It's this Syngonium chiapense right here. I don't know how well that's coming up on camera, but that's a more thicker leaf variety of Syngonium. Well, this one is a thinner leaf variety of Syngonium. So while the leaves look very similar in structure, there is some very noticeable differences. So I figured why not give this one a go. I'd actually been eyeing it up for a while on their website, but I just recently decided, what the hell, let me try it out. So I've had some good luck with that Syngonium chiapense so far. Only had it for a month or two, but I figured if I can grow that one, I can probably grow this one. So I figured why not give this one a grow. Next, we'll talk about the Hoyas that I acquired this month. So first I have this Hoya australis right here. If we're getting into the nitty gritty, I think that this is Hoya australis subspecies Australis Brookfield, which is just a waste of my time if you ask me. But this right here is just a cultivated variety of Hoya australis, a more common one that you'll find on the market. And I actually grow one of these already on my home. I have it on a little bamboo teepee, not that it's done very much on that bamboo teepee whatsoever, but we just got in these little 4-inch pots at work, and I couldn't help myself. They were just too full, too cute, and too good of a price for me to pass up. They have some really nice tendrils coming in, so like I said, I figured why not? I haven't had necessarily any bad luck with Hoya australis at this point, so figured another one couldn't hurt, although I do not need any new plants as we had discussed last month, but I just really couldn't help myself. And I think it looks really good in this Berg's pot right here. So the Hoya australis, in my experience, requires more light than some of your other Hoyas. I grow my other australis in a window, and I have another subspecies of Hoya australis that I grow a few feet away from a window, but I think it would probably be a little happier with me if I had it closer to the window, for being real. But like I said, these are just too full and too cute to pass up, and they're just getting ready to go absolutely all over the place, so could not pass this up. I actually have another form of Hoya australis right here. This is Hoya australis lisa, and I think this is actually very closely related to the Brookfield right here that I just showed you guys, but this is the variegated form of the Brookfield. And of course the variegation is on the inner side of the leaf rather than the outside. Hoya australis lisa used to go, and probably still does actually, it usually goes for a pretty penny online. I typically see like one of these plants sold for like $40 to $50 typically. But let me let you guys in on a little secret. There's some Canadian companies that are mass producing these types of Hoya right here. So probably within the next few months, if you haven't already, you might actually start to see these popping up at your local garden centers. And if they have good morals, these should be between $15 and $20 from what I've seen, if their markup is not ridiculously insane. So be patient if you're looking for one of these. Do be patient. You're probably going to see these in your local plant shop in just a matter of time. This one right here, I'll admit, was actually featured at a show, and I'd actually got it through a friend, through a vendor at a recent plant show that just happened. So that's how I actually got my hands on it here. So I'm pretty sure these are actually popping up now because I was at recently a local botanical garden, and in their gift shop they had these, and they were mislabeled as Hoya carnosa. So tip for me to you, do keep an eye out if you're going plant shopping and you see something that looks dangerously close to Hoya australis lisa and it's labeled as carnosa. Do not be fooled, because I do not know how this is sold by these Canadian companies on the availability list when garden centers order them, but I can be pretty sure it's not as Hoya australis lisa. So let's just put it that way. So people might have to be in the know of what they're ordering it for them to be marked correctly. So just something to keep in mind, not necessarily saying that people don't know what they're selling, but the company might not be labeling it correctly. People might just have to know what it is in order to sell it as such. So that being said, that's basically my long way of saying that this is being mass produced. So hang in there. If you are really lusting after a Hoya australis lisa, you don't have to fortunately shell out a large amount of money, because you're going to be able to get a nice full pot for a really good price in just a short amount of time if you can't already. Lastly, we're going to go over the odds and ends, or the plants that simply do not fit into a category for this video. And we're going to start off by finishing up the plants that I had acquired from Steve's Leaves. So this one right here is a Begonia conchifolia, and it's a variety rubrimacula. This is like the cutest begonia I've ever seen on planet Earth. This looks very similar to the Pilea peperomioides, which is another thing I think is so cool about it. But specifically, how succulent the leaves are. I think begonias with this succulent of leaves are few and far between, so I was really excited to give this one a grow. I'm admittedly a little nervous about growing this because I haven't had the best of luck growing begonias in my home, specifically ones of this type. I grow mainly angel wing begonias in my home. I find better luck with those. I think they can handle the lower humidity a little bit better in my experience, but this is just too cute. I just wanted to give it a try. I figured, why the hell not? So if you guys have any tips, if you grow Begonia conchifolia in your home, I would really appreciate some tips because, as I said, I'm a little nervous about it. But the one thing I really think is most darling about this is actually the little red dot. It's kind of lovely where the petiole meets the leaf. It kind of bleeds out almost like fireworks, if you will. It's just really something, a little attribute about this plant that I just think is really cute. It also has this fuzz around the perimeter of the leaf as well in the petiole that kind of looks, if I were to just kind of rub it, it would just kind of rub away. So it's really cool little things about this plant that I just think are really cool, but I'm really excited to try this plant out. So hopefully I can get some longevity out of this. So as I said, if you have any tips, please do share. Another plant that I gotten from Steve's Leaves is this lovely Pilea grandifolia. So this is a, honestly, just plain leafed Pilea, but for some reason I've never really been able to get my hands on this. So I have a terrarium grower local to me here in Philadelphia that grows a lot of different Pilea, and I've gotten a lot of different Pilea that I've tried out in my home from him, and that I also use in terrariums at work when I'm making terrariums. And when I saw this one on Steve's Leaves, I was admittedly thinking, like, why doesn't he have this? Like, is there a reason? As a buyer or someone who works in the industry, I admittedly kind of think twice about perhaps why a plant isn't in cultivation. Getting a little bit off topic, I kind of talk really often about like Hoya carnosa and how it's a very common type of Hoya for good reason, because it's very easy to grow, it's very easy to cultivate, it's easy to hybridize. So I sometimes wonder, when a plant isn't very heavily cultivated, I wonder if there's a reason why. So I was kind of thinking, like, this Pilea, is there a reason why my grower isn't cultivating it, other than perhaps that he just doesn't have his hands on it? But I figured, why not give this one a go? I'm probably thinking a little too hard about it, but that's just kind of how my brain works, working in this industry. But this is just such a beautiful leaved Pilea. I love the plain green leaves. I really don't see many Pilea like this, which is why it kind of caught my eye. So I wanted to give it a try. I also admittedly picked up this pot after I ordered it. I was like, I know this pot is just so perfect for this plant. So I went ahead and picked up one of these Burke's pots for this Pilea grandifolia. I just think it matches it so perfectly. So I'm a really big fan of this plant. I'm really excited to watch it grow. So hopefully there isn't a reason why my terrarium grower isn't growing it, and it's a very easy growing plant. I wouldn't be surprised if this Pilea might appreciate more of a terrarium setting, because a lot of Pileas that I try out tend to appreciate a terrarium setting more than being outside of a terrarium. But I'm going to try this one out in my bedroom, which is higher humidity than the rest of my home. So I think that'll be as close to a terrarium setting as it's going to get outside of a terrarium or a greenhouse. And I have one more plant from Steve's Leaves here. This is an Oxalis. Pardon me as I read the tag. This is an Oxalis CORYMBOSA AUREA-RETICULata. And this is a shamrock plant or oxalis that reminds me very similarly of a Phytonia, which is also commonly referred to as a nerve plant. So I just really love the foliage of this plant. I think this is going to do really well in my modern sprout grow frame. I think this is going to look phenomenal in there and really bush it up and fill it out. I think it's going to really appreciate being very close to that grow light. I think it'll really appreciate it, and as I said, just get really bushy and look really good. A little thing about this plant that I really like is a little bit of pink that hides at the base of the stems that seems to disappear, and I noticed that some of the new leaves too, the undersides of them have a little bit of a pink hue to them, so just a little thing about this plant that I've noticed that I just think is rather adorable. But yeah, I just really love the little pop of yellow color. This is an oxalis that I have never seen myself on the market, so I'm excited to watch this one grow. Admittedly, this was a freebie from my order from my friends at Steve's Leaves when I had placed my order. So when I got this in my home, I was thinking to myself like, oh crap, I think I've had an oxalis before and I think I killed it. But then I remembered it was my cat, or my roommate's cat more so, that decided that he really liked the oxalis. So I'm going to keep this one well out of his way, of course, in my modern sprout grow frame. And I think that it's going to be such a fun plant to grow. I haven't grown one of these in a while, so I'm really excited to get acclimated to growing oxalis. I have one more plant to share with you guys today. This one is not from Steve's Leaves. This is actually from that terrarium grower that I was just speaking of. This he sells as Peperomia pepper spot or pepper's pot. I'm not too sure. However, I don't believe that is actually the name of this plant. I think this is Peperomia PERCILIATA. I could be wrong. It's very small. You can see the little small flowers. This plant I'm growing underneath my grow light, and it must be really happy because this thing has like 50 flowers on it at the moment. But I'm really excited to see how this one grows. Another peperomia I grow in my home that I really enjoy is Peperomia Ruby Cascade, and I have a feeling that this Peperomia PERCILIATA, if that is the name, do let me know in the comments if you have any insight there. But I do believe that this peperomia is going to trail just like that Peperomia Ruby Cascade is. So I'm very excited about this one if that is to be the case. So peperomias in general, I find grow more actively in the winter time, which I think is super exciting because a lot of my plants don't really do much of anything in the wintertime, but my peperomias spring to life. So I was really excited to bring this one into my home in just the last month or so, knowing that it's going to spring to life if it hasn't already, from the inch or two of new growth that it's put off for me, as well as all of these flowers. So as I said, it must be screaming to me that I'm doing something right at least. So I'm hoping that this plant's going to grow really well. But as for all my other peperomias, I'm not going to water this one too often since it's sitting right under a grow light. I'll probably water it roughly once a week, but if I were to overwater this plant, I would probably find that these leaves will kind of turn yellow, get a little chlorotic, and might even rot. So I do want to be light-handed on the watering. But as I said, if you do have any insight of the actual name of this plant, because my terrarium grower, while I love him dearly, he's not necessarily the most accurate with some of his names on his plants. So I do sometimes need some direction, so I would love it with this one. But regardless, it's a really fun peperomia. It's got some little fuzzy leaves, little red zigzaggy stems, just to give you guys a little bit more information. But yeah, a really, really fun plant. I'm really excited to watch this one grow, and as I said, if this looks anything like my Peperomia Ruby Cascade did in a short amount of time, I'm going to be really thrilled with this plant. That's going to about do it for this month's plant haul for January 2020. Do forgive me, I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but I just had so many fun little plants to share with you guys. I just did not feel like waiting another month to share with you guys. So thank you guys again for watching. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Philly Foliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day!